Before the Azusa Street revival movement began. Before the thousands flooded the little wooden house, there was a man on his knees, a forgotten prophet. An unseen pillar. A broken voice crying out in the night for revival. His name was Frank Bartleman. He didn't lead with power, he led with prayer. He didn't shout on platforms, he wept in silence. He wasn't the preacher behind the pulpit. He wasn't the man leading the meetings, but without his tears, there might never have been a flame. He was born in 1871 in Pennsylvania. From his youth, he was drawn not to applause, but to the heart of God. Raised in a broken world and wounded body, he would become a man who understood suffering deeply. And from suffering, he learned intercession. When he moved to Los Angeles, something gripped his spirit. The churches were many, the sermons loud, but the altars were dry. The hearts were cold. With a deep hunger in his heart, he began to pray for revival. He prayed for hours, for days, for weeks. He cried out with a broken spirit. He wasn't alone, but he was rare. A man willing to be broken so others could burn. As his hunger for holiness grew deeper, he began to write and preach on the street. His letters and articles spread like wildfire. He would often write for holiness papers and spiritual newsletters, pleading not for fame but for fervor. He warned against pride, professionalism, and performance in the pulpit. He believed the Spirit could only move where men were willing to bow low. His words were fire on paper. He was a true example of a believer. He lost children to sickness. He endured poverty. He faced rejection. But he never stopped praying. Never stopped weeping. Never stopped believing. When the meetings at Azusa Street began under William J. Seymour, it was not a coincidence. Bartleman had already paved the way in the Spirit. His secret prayers watered the dry ground that others would stand on. He became the chronicler of the Azusa Street revival, documenting it with diligence and a reverent heart. His accounts remain some of the most powerful testimonies of what God can do when people are desperate enough. But he never took the credit. He always pointed to Jesus, the Holy Spirit and the cross. To Frank Bartleman, revival was not a performance, it was death to self. It was tears on the floor. It was hunger that could not be satisfied by anything but God, and even as the revival faded in years to come, Bartleman never stopped. He preached across the nation, wrote tirelessly, called for deeper consecration. A man whose fire never dimmed, even when the world moved on. They called him a fanatic, a street preacher, a man out of place. But Frank Bartleman didn't care for titles. He cared for groaning. He cared for fire. And when the world was asleep, he wept. For a revival yet to come. Frank Bartleman died in 1936. No headlines. But heaven knew, because long before there was a global Pentecostal movement, there was a man on his knees, weeping in the streets of Los Angeles, crying, "Lord, break us again until the fire falls." And that fire still burns. You don't need to be a renowned preacher to set the world on fire for God. Your knees, your tears, and groaning may be more than enough. Those who fan the fire are the ones who keep the revival flame on earth. This is put together by Zion Models, Revival Fire Legacies. Subscribe for more awakening stories.